Hey, mister, you even know what's going on?
I woke up today in the hospital. Came home, that's all I know.
You a good man, Rick. I hope you find your wife and son.
All I am anymore is a man looking for his wife and son. Anybody gets in the way of that's gonna lose.
The mausoleum of all hope and desire, which will fit your individual needs no better than it did mine or my father's before me. I give it to you, not that you may remember time, but that you may forget it for a moment, now and then, and not spend all of your breath trying to conquer it.
The pilot episode of The Walking Dead, titled Days Gone By, might be one of the most complete and utterly beautiful episodes of television I have ever seen. It's a true masterpiece from start to finish, and in my opinion is the greatest pilot episode of all time. Never in my life have I been so intrigued, confused, and left speechless watching the first episode of a series. And as someone who hadn't read the comics prior to watching the episode, it only added to the brilliance of it. In today's video, I'm going to be delving into why this episode is so amazing, and talking about how it laid the foundations for one of the greatest TV franchises of all time. So let's travel back to Halloween night 2010 and discuss Days Gone By. Now, I'm pretty sure you will all be extremely familiar with this episode, but I will briefly go over the storyline just to re-jog everyone's memories and to also use as a reference point for later subjects within the video. On a deserted Georgian highway, a lone police car comes to a stop as the road is blocked by overturned and abandoned cars. The world is deathly quiet except from the clicks of crickets in the grass. The police officer investigates the gas station by the side of the road, but that too is deserted. Then all of a sudden the officer hears something. Looking under the car, he sees the feet of what seems to be a young girl. He calls out to the girl, asking if she needs any help, and the girl stops and slowly turns around to reveal a missing right cheek, exposing both teeth and muscle, and the stench of decaying flesh fills the air. Something's not right, and the officer quickly pulls out his gun and shoots the girl in the head as the screen cuts to black. We see the very same officer about a month or so earlier, and we learn that his name is Rick Grimes, our main protagonist, and his partner and best friend Shane Walsh are talking about girl problems before getting called to a high-speed chase. They are both police officers, and after arriving on the scene, a short gunfight ensues, to which Rick is shot twice, once in the chest, which his bulletproof vest bears the impact of, and a second time in the side, which unfortunately puts Rick in a coma. After finally arising from his coma, he finds himself all alone, and as he stumbles out of the hospital room, a horrendous scene is waiting for him. A lifeless corpse lays on the ground, the ceiling is caved in, and a boarded up door reads, "Don't open. Dead inside." A confused Rick makes his way down the pitch black stairwell before he is greeted by the blinding light of the sun, and as his vision comes to, in the courtyard he sees the corpses of hundreds of people wrapped in white sheets. Rick rushes home in shock and horror to try and find his family. However, after finding the house empty, he is greeted by a shovel to the face. As he awakes, we meet Morgan Jones and his son Dwayne. After Morgan catches Rick up with the horrors that have occurred during his time in the hospital, Rick takes the father and son to his police station, where they have a hot shower and load up on guns before parting ways. Rick rides his police car towards Atlanta in hopes to find his family and tries to communicate via the radio to any other survivors out there. This catches us up to the scene we saw at the beginning, and Rick continues his journey on foot until he manages to find a horse. After catching and riding the horse into the city, he sees a helicopter and follows it until turning a corner to be met with a sea of the undead that fill the streets. The horse topples over in shock and gets devoured by the creatures. However, Rick scurries into a nearby tank, only managing to escape by the skin of his teeth. However, when inside the tank, there is a lone walker who Rick has to shoot in the head, causing him to go deaf momentarily. He lays there, defeated and exhausted, until a voice rings on the radio. "Hey you, dumbass. Yeah, you in the tank. You cozy in there?" And this is where the episode ends. The sense of isolation and fear is palpable throughout the episode. As Rick awakens in the hospital, the silent empty corridors and the blooded walls create a haunting atmosphere. I mean, it's like watching a classic horror film. When Rick awakes from his coma, not a single word is spoken from him leaving the hospital room to him getting home. Frank Darabont does such a good job at using the silence to create tension, and the sounds of crickets and flies just make the once lived in world feel so empty. And the slow pacing of the episode allows the audience to discover the horrors of the new world alongside Rick Grimes. It's so immersive, and you feel the character's confusion and fear as he's praying it's all a bad dream. And the performance from Andrew Lincoln is just incredible. And unlike traditional action heroes, Rick is confused, scared, and unprepared for this new world. And this sets him up as a protagonist that viewers can root for. He's down to earth, he's a normal guy, just looking for his family. Now, I see a lot of fans of the show say they miss the vibe of the early seasons of The Walking Dead, and I really get it. The grainy look, the washed colours, and the minimal sound design, they create a truly unique atmosphere. And the gradual build-up of tension in Days Gone By allows for the dread to steadily build up, not just for Rick, but also for the viewer. Rather than overwhelming the audience, the pilot gradually reveals the new world through small details like the graffiti, the decaying corpses, and the barricaded doors. The audience is left to piece together the extent of the apocalypse alongside Rick Grimes. Subtle signs, each with their own fascinating and puzzling backstories, litter the background, and the mystery of what happened and how society collapsed draws viewers in. And by the end of the episode, we still don't have all the answers, which leaves fans wanting more. It's so hard to put into words, but the world feels so lived in, but also so barren and deserted. There's an eerie feel to it, and the set designs are just amazing. Also, the cinematography is just breathtaking. The wide shots to the iconic scene of Rick riding his horse up to Atlanta make it so visually appealing. It's a well-written, atmospheric, and visually jaw-dropping masterpiece. We had truly never seen anything like it before, and the concept of zombies had fluctuated in horror media, going from almost comedic villains to terrifying human hybrids. But we had never seen these creatures used to tell a compelling and complex family drama story, especially in a TV series format. It was a refreshing and unique show, and this episode started zombie mania in the 2010s. Although this is a horror show, it didn't just rely on cheap scares and gore to intrigue the audience. It's a well thought out story with emotional depth. Rick's journey is not just about survival, it's about finding his family, which gives the episode a strong emotional core. His determination to reunite with his wife and son motivates every decision he makes, and the episode even ends on a note of hope. One of my favourite scenes in this episode is when we see Shane and Laurie kissing, and then the camera cuts to Rick looking at his car visor, and in there is a photo of himself, Laurie and Carl. This is the first time as an audience member we realised that Shane has been sleeping with Rick's wife, as before this we had not seen a picture of Laurie and we didn't know what she looked like. And as this realisation sets in for the audience, you feel betrayed on Rick's behalf. It's a truly amazing scene that doesn't treat the audience as if we're dumb, as it uses organic and subtle hints to show us how the story is playing out, and you're really rooting for Rick. I think Days Gone By also did a brilliant job at remaining pretty faithful to the source material, that being Robert Kirkman's comic under the same name. But it also enhanced the material. It introduces iconic visuals and character moments that even those unfamiliar with the comics can appreciate, whilst also still satisfying the die-hard fans of the original source. It was the perfect blend of fresh ideas and familiarity for both new viewers and readers of the comics. The pilot episode of The Walking Dead works so well because it takes time to establish its tone, the world, and the emotional stakes involved. Its combination of cinematic direction, character-driven storytelling, and emotional depth make it stand out as a near-perfect introduction to the series. And the show is about human relationships in a world filled with zombies. And maybe this is pure nostalgia talking, but I will always remember watching this episode when I was younger, feeling immersed into the world it was creating. It was a time in my life where I had no stress, and the only thing I worried about was when my homework was due and when the next episode of my favourite TV show was dropping. That being The Walking Dead. And I'm sure this very episode did that to millions of people across the globe. So that's why I believe this pilot episode is not only the greatest TV pilot of all time, but sets up years of unmissable television for us all to enjoy. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, as it means the world. And a huge shout out to my channel members Dane and Roderick Hare. Thank you both for supporting the channel, and if you too would like to become a member, you can do so by joining down below. And thank you to you guys for choosing today's topic. I run weekly polls on my community page, so make sure you subscribe to stay up to date and get a say in what videos I make. So please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.